What happens within the family, you have these family interactions. You become triggered by your spouse or your kids or your partner. Then what happens, the neuroscientists have a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. Pain causes anxiety and frustration. When other circumstances cause anxiety and frustration, they're just linked directly to the pain pathways. It's not psychological, it's a direct link of anxiety, frustration to pain circuits. When a person gets triggered for whatever reasons, but particularly within the family, the pain goes up because your adrenaline goes up. When your adrenaline goes up, it doubles the speed of conduction of the nerves. You feel the pain more. You feel the pain a lot more.
The Vidal Speaks podcast.
Episode 119, Dr. David Hanscom on basic family triggers around pain, Part 1. Welcome to Vidal Speaks. My name is Deborah Vidal, former 11-year LPGA golf pro turned classical homeopath, certified plant-based nutritionist, and wellness coach. Each week here on Vidal Speaks, we bring you knowledge, inspiration, or natural remedies to help you take charge of your health and feel your best. I believe health is freedom and knowledge is power, so tuning in each week will give you the power to take steps towards freeing yourself from the chains that hold you back from having the energy to do all you want in life. No matter where you are in your journey of wellness, Vidal Speaks can help. I promise. Welcome back, all of you out there. I've missed you. It's so good to be here with you today again. That's always a good day for me, is when I can sit here with you guys. How are you guys? How's life going these days? I'm doing really great. I want to be sure to tell you guys, though, that I finally got my YouTube channel up and running with videos. Yay! I've had a lot to learn, so it's taken me some time, but I'm really excited to tell you guys this news. Just go into the YouTube search box and put in Vidal Speaks, and you're going to find me. And then be sure to subscribe so you get notified when I post a new video. I've done 2 so far, and I just want to use the YouTube platform to teach and answer questions of anyone needing help out there, because I've been getting so many emails of people asking me so many questions and for help, and it's really just breaks my heart because so many people need help. And so I decided that I would use the YouTube platform to help people and answer their questions. And as I told you, you guys know now I'm certified as a detox and regeneration specialist by Dr. Morse and also an iridologist. So I'm going to be asking you guys to send me your eye pics along with your questions, if you can figure out how to take a good eye photo, that is. Just Google how to take an iridology photo, and then you just watch, because it's really special how you have to do it. It has to be really close up. So if you guys need any help out there with anything, just ask me questions, and I've set up an email just for this purpose. It is questions@vidalspeaks.com. I'm really excited about doing videos and more teaching, and I'm going to put another one up very soon. I think it's going to be on the introduction to iridology, so stay tuned. I've been trying to prepare for that and find photos and stuff. Okay, and now for other news. Well, let's talk about externally what's going on, meaning our outdoor environment. Geez, we've had a lot going on, like the biggest fire ever in California history. It's burning and destroying still. We had 17 fires at one time in the state about 2 weeks ago. And then there's Oregon and Washington State with so many fires, they're being warned about breathing the air. Now British Columbia is raging with fires, totally out of control. Our climate is in a crisis, and sadly we waited way too long, so now we're going to see a lot of destruction until the people in charge of our environmental laws start taking it seriously. I don't really see the point, because it's their children and grandchildren's environment they're killing too when they vote for more coal or they approve for more fracking. It's their children's animals that have disappeared, and their air they breathe and the water they need to drink. We're truly going backwards, aren't we? Just last night, I heard that the administration has reversed all the tough pollution laws for cars in LA, or California rather. What? Are you serious? Just to please the chemical companies who don't want to spend dollars to comply? It's a sick world out there, you guys. I know it's so corrupt. You really have to keep your head and your heart in the right place. All we can do is that we each have to do our part and do it the best we can. We have to spend our energy here living true and honest lives, and we have to live very consciously. We have to remember we're all one. Without our oceans, we die. Without our animals, we die. And even without our trees, we die. So I spend every minute of my life trying to do my part. And I want to ask you guys to do the same too. People of the light must come together and keep spreading the truth and helping others, right? I want to help all you guys heal and get well by giving you all the truths that I've learned in my life journey and my years of clinical practice. Look, I was on this journey alone, and I chose this journey and profession because I needed help to get myself well. And it's taken a long time to get here because I was alone, as I said. But now I feel rich with knowledge, and I know the truth and the lies. And I want to share them with you so you can get on the road to Wellville. Many people suffer chronic pain syndromes and they have no answers why, and this makes life miserable. It often leads to anxiety, anger, depression, and even suicide. And having no idea what you have is horrible. And even when they tell you what you have, they still have no answers. So today I have renowned spine surgeon Dr. David Hanscom back to talk about what happens to our family when someone in our family has chronic pain. He's going to give us some rules to follow and tell us how pain can affect our relationships with the very people we care the most about. I'm so excited to share his work with you guys because I know some of you out there have pain, whether it's back issues or fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, or some other mystery illness syndrome. Dr. Hanscom's work has been life-changing to so many, and I'm really excited to share his new work with you guys. This is the first interview of a 3-part series, and you guys remember now that Dr. Hanscom has been on my show before, so if you want to refresh yourself on the details of his work, then re-listen to episodes 71 and 84. Okay, you guys, you know the routine. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Dr. Hanscom believes that each human being has a deep drive to thrive and give back. This force is frequently compromised by chronic pain, which has been documented to have similar impact on your quality of life as terminal cancer. Life becomes one of survival. Through his own personal ordeal, he discovered that chronic pain is curable by systematically using established medical practices in a self-directed manner. This key is to connect to your own capacity to heal. Dr. Hanscom is an orthopedic complex spinal deformity surgeon who now understands that most chronic pain from any source is solvable, usually without surgery. He is the creator of the DOC, Direct Your Own Care program, which is the subject of his book, Back in Control, A Surgeon's Roadmap Out of Chronic Pain. He also publishes a weekly blog and maintains a website, backincontrol.com, to provide resources for chronic pain patients and their families. Dr. Hanscom distinguishes himself from many spine surgeons in that he strongly encourages non-surgical solutions for his patients. Working from his practice at the Swedish Medical Center in Seattle, Washington, Dr. Hanscom witnessed scores of patients recover without surgery. Through these experiences and his own personal victory over a severe chronic condition, he came to understand that chronic pain, rather than being a structural problem, was a neurological condition, and that most chronic pain, whatever the cause, duration, or degree, is solvable. As patients apply Dr. Hanscom's DOC program, in which they choose and perform activities that have been documented to be effective by extensive medical research, the results are often miraculous. Not only have hundreds of people become pain-free by using DOC, many of Dr. Hanscom's surgical patients have opted out of surgery after trying the program for only a few weeks. The key to alleviating chronic pain, Dr. Hanscom discovered, is the patient's control of his or own treatment plan. He didn't always believe this way. He spent the first 8 years of his practice willingly performing spinal procedures to cure his patients' discomfort until research data revealed that the overall success rate for surgery performed for low back pain was less than 30%. Meanwhile, he was struggling with chronic pain and was suffering from an additional 15 symptoms caused by his stressed nervous system. They include unrelenting anxiety and tinnitus that nearly put him over the edge. He inadvertently discovered an effective non-surgical tool that began his path to healing over a mere 6 months. The experience opened his eyes to the fact that the source of most people's chronic pain was in the nervous system, not the skeletal system. Today, Dr. Hanscom's mission is to reintroduce true healing into medicine. He feels that doctors should be given the time to understand their patients and the life situations surrounding their medical problems. Currently, we are prescribing simplistic solutions for a complex problem. Only then will we see far greater success in treating chronic pain and protecting patients from risky and costly surgeries. Okay, so are you guys ready? Well, sit back, relax, and enjoy this one, and let's go talk to Dr. Hanscom. Hi, Dr. Hanscom. I know you've been working a lot on how the dynamics of a family member with pain can affect and even ruin a family. And I think now with the millions of people that are affected by pain, it's really important, this work that you're doing. So I'm really happy to help you get the word out so that we can help others heal. And I just want to welcome you and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks. Yeah, the family dynamics have been a huge, huge paradigm shift in the last year. So I'm excited to be able to talk about them.
Yeah, and I just want to remind the listeners, you were on my show before, so I should be saying welcome back because you did episodes 71 and 84, and I highly recommend that everyone go back and listen to those so they know all about your work. But today we're going to be doing the first part of a 3-part series, and today's topic is the family triggers around pain. So just before we start, let's do a little intro. Tell us again, like how you got into this work, and especially the family part. You know, why is that important in the work that you're doing to help people with their pain?
I've been doing spine surgery for over 30 years. I'm a complex spine surgeon. I deal with situations that are very difficult. My goal is to try to salvage situations that have gone sour. Unfortunately, it turns out that a lot of the situations I'm trying to salvage never should have had surgery in the first place. So I started looking at that more carefully. I realized my own patients, when I was doing surgeries for back pain, that those weren't working out very well. Then the data came out in 1993 that the success rate for a spine fusion for back pain was about 23%. Jeez. So I just stopped. I said, look, I don't know what to do exactly, but I'm not going to do this. But the thing is, in medicine, we're taught that basically there's always a reason, a structural reason for the pain. We tend to keep looking, also from injections and treatments and surgery, where really the neuroscientists have shown that chronic pain is actually a neurological diagnosis. And the current definition is that chronic pain is an embedded memory that gets connected with more and more life experiences, and the memory can't be erased. So it turns out that chronic pain is a neurological problem. The body memorizes these pain impulses. Then it really doesn't matter what we do surgically to solve the problem, it's not going to work. I didn't really know what to do. I developed a chronic pain situation myself. I came out of it by accident. It took me a long time to figure out what happened, how I got into it, how I came out. But the last 5 years of neuroscience research has been remarkably revealing as to what the problem is, and it's basically given us the answer to chronic pain. Part of my process is that my wife, I, and daughter put on 3-day and 5-day workshops. And the workshops are based around awareness, hope, forgiveness, and play. And one of the cardinal rules that we put into place was people could not talk about their pain during the workshop. What I didn't realize until we put that rule into place is how much people actually talked about their pain. And also remember when I was in chronic pain myself, I was on this endless quest to find the solution. I asked people questions. I talked about it, discussed it. But it turns out that a very high percent of people spend the majority of their conscious hours discussing or thinking about their chronic pain. When we put the rule in place of you cannot talk about your pain, people looked at me and go, well, what do we talk about? I didn't realize it was that embedded in people's consciousness to discuss their pain. Then it came about that the people that suffer the most, besides the patient, is the patient's family. Because when the person is talking about their pain all the time, it just brings a negative energy into the house. Family members become frustrated because they can't do much about it. Then we do know that chronic pain is a real problem. It actually creates a situation where people live 7 years less than the average lifespan if you have severe chronic pain. And there's a research paper documented that the effect of chronic pain on a person's quality of life is equivalent to terminal cancer. It's a big deal.
Wow.
But the medical people aren't trained in the neuroscience right now. It hasn't penetrated mainstream medical consciousness. The family members don't believe the patient or the person because, quote, the doctors can't find anything, so there must be nothing wrong. That's not true. There's a massive, severe alteration in the body's chemistry. Your body is full of these stress chemicals. Each organ system responds in its own way. There's over 30 physical symptoms of a sustained stress chemical assault. There's migraine headaches, there's burning sensation around the body, skin rashes, ringing in the ears, back pain, neck pain, anxiety, insomnia, depression. All of these are a result of a sustained chemical assault on your body. But the family members can't see that. The doctors tend to toss the patients around like there's nothing wrong.
Right.
So as a family member discusses the pain within the family, it just becomes a very, very touchy situation.
Well, I think what's really interesting here is that, a lot of times when, people really want that physical diagnosis because, as you said, that's how doctors are trained. They need to find the structural problem. But also as a patient, you want your doctor to tell you what's wrong because when he says, oh, well, the good news is, I'm sure you say this to your patients, your spine is fine. And they're like, what? That's not good news because now I really don't know what I have. But, and so I think part of that makes that so difficult is that when you don't have something physical, then it's more intangible and it seems maybe easier to blame the patient that they're making it up. And I think even the patient themselves must be frustrated too, because then they're thinking, he's telling me this is all mental. And that's not what you're saying. You're saying there's actually a syndrome. It's not just a made up mental thing, but there's actually a process that's happening in the body, right?
But there is something wrong. In other words, okay, so let's say your blood pressure is high. You take a blood pressure cuff, you measure the blood pressure, and it's elevated. So that's objective, but you can't see it on a diagnostic test. You can measure, but you can't really see it. So if you drew blood samples of people in chronic pain and measured their adrenaline and cortisol levels, those are elevated. I mean, there is something wrong. So just because it's not on a structural diagnostic test doesn't mean the body chemistry is way off. And of course, the body's chemistry has way more effect on the body's sensations and reactions than a structural bone spur.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something actually drastically wrong, which is a sustained chemical environment that's adverse. And remember, people die 7 years earlier in chronic pain. That's not made up.
Yeah, right.
So it's a severe problem. So that's where there's a little term right now going called medically unexplained symptoms, which I'm quite reactive to because they're completely medically explained. And without going into any detail, I had 16 of these symptoms at the same time. And as my body chemistry calmed down, again, I didn't know what was happening at the time, but as my body chemistry calmed down, all of them disappeared. Every one of them. They're gone.
And Dr. Hanscom, do you think it's possible? I'm just asking you this because I'm curious. Do you think it's possible that if someone's cortisol levels and adrenaline levels were tested, that they could have chronic pain and them be normal? Or do you think that's not possible?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Do you think it's possible that a patient could have chronic pain and not have elevated cortisol or adrenaline? Is that even possible?
I don't think so. because you're trapped. I mean, when you're trapped by anything, the human organism is designed to escape. So whether you're trapped by relationships, money, job, bad boss, chronic pain, intrusive thoughts, all those things trap people. So when you're trapped, your body's going to secrete more stress chemicals or more adrenaline to try to escape. So by definition, if you're trapped by anything, also not being believed by your family or the medical profession that you have a problem, so it's an incredible trap. The dark spot is so dark, I call it the abyss, that you can't put into words how desperate you are to come out of this hole. I was in this hole for 15 solid years, and it becomes your entire life trying to get out of this hole, but nobody's showing you the way.
Yeah. Geez, that's horrible. I mean, I know, I'm with Lloyd now 11 years, and he's had this pain syndrome 10 and a half. So it's really difficult. So to set the stage for what you're going to talk about, the family triggers, I think you were going to talk about 4 triggers or 4 rules or something like that. But before you do that, can you give us a little idea on the statistics of how many people are living with chronic pain?
Well, it depends how you look at it. The Institute of Medicine says it's over 100 million people. Then you break it down a little bit more, probably 20 to 30 million people have severe chronic pain. But then you look at it differently, and it turns out that anxiety is the pain. In other words, anxiety is simply the sensation generated by stress chemicals. So every living creature, when they're threatened, has a stress chemical response. Their muscles tighten up, they take evasive action, problem solved. The living creatures that did not pay attention to the physical threats obviously didn't survive. So literally every second of our life is dependent on avoiding anxiety. So anxiety is simply the sensation generated by the stress chemicals that is not the primary problem. It's the result of the threat. Okay? So if you look at anxiety as an issue, literally, essentially every person in the country has chronic pain because everybody has anxiety and nobody really knows what to do with it.
Wow, yeah.
It's not primarily a psychological problem. It's a neurochemical survival reflex that is 1,000,000 times stronger than the conscious brain. So I don't know that many people, including myself, that really have been taught the correct concepts about this neurochemical reflex. But essentially, we have anxiety disorders, eating disorders, all sorts of things are happening. So depending on how you define it, most of the population has some type of significant chronic pain.
Yeah, so like we're talking now, just chronic pain from maybe a failed surgery or chronic pain that's gotten them addicted onto opioids or something like this. I'm sure this is it hundreds of millions? Is it how many people have this kind of syndrome where it's literally like a opioid kind of daily need to help their pain?
Well, with the opioid epidemic, 40% of my entire surgical practice is dealing with opioid addicts. It's a big problem.
Wow.
And so what happens, they inject IV drugs, bacteria lodge in the person's spine and starts to grow. It turned out to be a major operation to clean out the infection, stabilize the spine. I get to live with these people every day, all the time. The pain they're trying to avoid is the mental pain. What's crippling them and why they're taking the opioids is the anxiety. And it works. Opioids work for anxiety. The trouble is obviously there's lots of other problems with it. But since anxiety is a survival neurochemical reflex, we'll do anything to avoid that incredibly uncomfortable emotion. The war on opioids right now, by the way, we're restricting access to opioids, which makes anxiety worse. It's probably the one worst thing we could be doing for the war on opioids. And what we really need to be doing is solving chronic pain.
Yeah. Right, that's so true. So then tell us a little bit about how a family member with chronic pain affects the whole family, and then you can set the stage for, the rules, but tell us about this effect on the family.
First of all, the way human consciousness was born was by talking with other humans. And when humans were able to start to cooperate and have language, that's when humans became the most powerful species on the planet. Language is the basic connection. It's how we socialize. It's a human need. Right behind air, food, water, and shelter is human connection. And in fact, when people are socially isolated, they often don't thrive. They develop the same symptoms as chronic pain. And we can deal with all sorts of medical treatments, but if we don't address the social isolation, it's a big problem. So humans have a huge need to be socially connected. The deeper the connection, the better. The deepest connections are within the family. The problem is the deeper the connection, the deeper the triggers. So it turns out that the family is the safest and most dangerous place on this planet. So you go to your family for nurturing, safety, and comfort. At the same time, we know horrible results about domestic violence, but it's based on these triggers. And when I define a trigger, I mean anything that causes an automatic anxiety, anger reaction is a survival reaction. That means you're triggered. Anytime you're anxious or angry, you're in a survival reaction. It's an unconscious survival response. You can't talk this stuff out. What happens within the family, you have these family interactions. You become triggered by your spouse or your kids or your partner. Then what happens, the neuroscientists have a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. Pain causes anxiety and frustration. When other circumstances cause anxiety and frustration, they're just linked directly to the pain pathways. It's not psychological. It's a direct link of anxiety, frustration to pain circuits. When a person gets triggered for whatever reasons, but particularly within the family, the pain goes up because your adrenaline goes up. When your adrenaline goes up, it doubles the speed of conduction of the nerves. You feel the pain more. You feel the pain a lot more. They did a research project of 105 couples. All of them happened to be married. The person in pain would complain about their neck or their back, whatever body part was hurting them. Then they would get a predictable hostile response from their partner. Then the pain would always go up in the person in chronic pain. The thing that was fascinating about the process is the person in pain knew if they complained that their spouse would have a hostile response, and they still kept complaining, and their pain still kept going up.
Wow, yeah, that's not a good cycle, is it?
No.
And I know you've said before that anger, and I think you said anger is anxiety times 1,000, right? It's just like,
Right.
Yeah, it's like boosted. So might start out as anxiety and then at some point turns to anger because you're trapped and, as you said, frustrated, and ultimately that leads to anger. And you talk a lot about that chronic pain is dangerous, and I assume that's why, because it just puts you in this chronically angry state, right?
Right. Well, again, anxiety is that reaction you have when something threatens you, either mentally or physically. And then generally you take evasive action to solve the problem, anxiety disappears. When you're trapped, your body secretes more adrenaline in an effort to survive. It's a survival response. It turns out that anger is simply anxiety with a chemical kick. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So then people in this chronic pain, that seems like that would, if they're so focused, as you said, they're spending so much of their day. I imagine I don't know how much of their day, but I imagine it's a huge percentage of their day being focused on their pain. Then that kind of makes them almost a bit of a narcissist because they're just not aware of anybody else or anything else. And it's not, in a way, you can say, I don't want to say their fault. I mean, they have a reason to be in pain. It's hard to get your mind off of pain when it's there 24/7. But at the same time, then you're just becoming more unaware about anything else, and you're becoming like less able to like feel sorry for anybody else that has anything because you're so into your own problem. Is that right?
Right.
Time to take your break and have a great big juicy bite of any healthy fruit. Yep, that's right, fruit. If you listened to episode 118 a couple months back with Dr. Morse, then you know you should be eating fruit. So if you haven't, please do so. Can I ask you guys to take a minute out of your busy day and leave me a review on iTunes for this podcast? I'd so appreciate that. And then send the link to a few friends to listen to. And if you know anyone out there that's sick or in pain, because you know this show will give them hope, of course. Lastly, if you're planning on buying any items on Amazon.com, please consider to use my banner. You can go to vidalspeaks.com and click on the Amazon banner and it'll take you directly to Amazon. Just bookmark that page and put it right on your bookmarks bar, and then you're all set up to go. And every time you want to shop, you just click on that bookmark and it'll take you right there via my banner. So cool, I appreciate that so much. You guys know I love you, right? Okay, let's get back to the show.
Remember, the solution to chronic pain is that these are permanently memorized pathways that you can't solve. The more you talk about them, the more you discuss them, the more you're going to reinforce them. What you have to do is create new pathways around the old pathways. I'll tell you the 4 things that my patients do when they leave my office, and it's been remarkably effective. So it turns out the family is the deepest triggers as far as creating chronic pain and making it worse. Again, you can deal with all these medical issues, but if you don't deal with the family triggers, it's a huge problem. The family dynamics wipe out all the medical treatment, but if you flip the paradigm and put some rules in place around the family dynamics, it's incredibly powerful flipping the switch and pulling people out of pain. There's 4 things I ask people to do. The first one is I ask every adult member of the family, including adolescents, to participate in the book and the website. There's 4 stages. I say, look, the first 6 weeks is just learning about pain and a few other things. Second of all, so when everybody participating, there's a process called mirror neurons. That is, you get better, it actually stimulates the better part of your partner's brain. So having everybody involved in the family is a pretty big deal. So if you're feeling worse or having a bad day, you're actually directly stimulating the bad part of your partner's brain and bringing them down. What you're trying to do by pulling everybody in the family into the process, you're creating an energy that starts pulling everybody out of the hole. The second thing is I say, look, when you walk out of this office, you will never discuss your pain ever again with anybody, period, end of story. Friends, colleagues, children, especially your family, especially your partner. You'll never discuss your pain again, ever.
Wow, that's such a hard one.
It is, but something, once people come out of it, when I do our seminars, these 3-day workshops, the first day is a little bit rough. People don't know what to do. By the middle of the second day, they suddenly realize they've been talking to people about the news, their pets, their hobbies, and whatever. And you can just feel the mood shift. And a lot of them thought they came to the workshop to get rid of their pain and solve it and analyze it. Remember, the more you try to solve and analyze anything, you're actually paying more attention to it. What you're trying to do is stimulate neuroplasticity. You're trying to stimulate the brain to change. You can't control your brain, but you can direct it. If your mind is directed towards the pain pathways, you're going to reinforce those.
Right.
That's a big one, and it is hard the first 2 to 4 weeks, but I tell you, by time we've had the best time at this over the last 18 months, because people come in and there's a shift. The spouses are happier, the partners are happier, the kids are happier. Even though the pain may not be gone at that point, remember, this whole process is about solving chronic pain, not just managing it. But there's a shift in mood, shift in family dynamics, there's a sense of hope. But just not hearing about your partner's pain all day long is just a huge relief.
I imagine on both sides, for sure, for the partner who doesn't have the pain, it's such a burden to carry that on their shoulders that their partner has chronic pain. But then for the patient themselves, is it a process for them? I don't know. I know you worked with this with Lloyd, and he's much, much better about it. He still can do it sometimes, but I know now he's more aware of it. But I just know this, that sometimes you feel like if someone says, oh, how are you doing today? And then you feel like you have to say, I'm doing fine, when you're not. And he would always say, but then I feel like I'm lying because I'm not doing fine. So how do you tell them to respond when people say, how you doing?
There's lots of ways of doing this. You don't have to be, I think being firm is really clear, because remember, when you ask him about his pain, obviously you're well-intentioned, but you're actually making his pain worse, right? Mm-hmm. The paradigm shift you have to make is that when you keep asking your partner about their pain, why you're actually making the whole problem worse, you're actually hurting them, not helping them. I think that's a really critical factor.
Yeah, that's really important. But what if you go out somewhere and you haven't seen someone and they go, hey, Lloyd, how you doing? And then he has to say, I'm fine, when he's not?
I think that's fine. Your personal health is really not anybody else's business. A lot of times people want to open up a discussion about their pain. That's why there's that opening line about how are you doing? because they actually want to talk about their pain, right?
Yeah, so basically, under no circumstance, rule number 2 is don't talk about pain to anybody, even if they haven't seen you. It doesn't matter. You just say, I'm fine.
And also to say, look, my doctor explained to me that it's really counterproductive for me to talk about my pain, and I really prefer not to discuss it. And there is a gap. I mean, there's definitely a gap of a few weeks or sometimes several months of you've been searching for pain answers, you've been focused on pain, you haven't been reading good books, you haven't been enjoying your hobbies, and you have become unidimensional. There is a gap that needs to be filled up with normal things again. That is an awkward phase of this whole process that I will readily admit.
Mm-hmm.
But that brings us to the third thing. So the third thing I ask people to do is to spend an hour remembering when things were really fun in their relationship. And remember it in as much detail as possible. And it's not positive thinking, which generally doesn't work in chronic pain, but it's positive substitution. There's also reawakening a part of the brain that hasn't been waking up for a while. Most people will readily admit in a heartbeat that when chronic pain enters the household, the fun disappears. Then it becomes a matter of surviving the pain, surviving medical care, surviving the conversations. You go into survival mode, you forget what it's like while you were together in the first place. That's why it's really critical to spend that hour remembering when things were really, really fun. And again, from a neuroplasticity standpoint, you're developing those circuits and you're moving away from the pain circuits, which again is the solution to chronic pain, is coming off of the pain circuits onto the play circuits or more enjoyable circuits.
Mm-hmm.
And then things start to fade. But it's interesting because people have been trapped in these pain conversations for so long, they actually find it fairly awkward to discuss when things were fun.
Yeah, I imagine. Oh, that's so interesting. And then what's the fourth rule?
The fourth one is bringing it home. And that's going to be the conversation, I think, of our third conversation in detail. But the essence of it is that you're going to make your home a safe house. Under no circumstances will you argue or fight in the house. And I will 100% tell you that 100% of couples fight. They just do. And I wrote a website post called Happily Ever After. What causes these disruptions is a neurological trick. It's not rational. Again, couples trigger each other. They're not rational. They come from deep patterns in the past. When you get into these arguments, they're not rational. As you well know, nobody ever solves anything in an argument, ever.
Right.
Anger is only destructive. If you like your partner or your kids, don't fight with them. It's only destructive. I mean, you would never talk to a stranger in the street the way you talk to your partner.
Yeah,
right?
That's for sure.
And you're not living with that stranger in the street. You're living with your partner. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be on a pulpit here, but I'm working really hard at this. So is my wife, of really not arguing or fighting in the house. You're going to create a safe house. So if you have to end up getting into an argument, take it outside. Don't do it in the house, especially in front of your kids, especially in front of each other. You're going to create a physical space on this planet that is perfectly, absolutely safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big deal because in chronic pain, you don't feel safe because your body's being attacked by pain impulses. You don't feel safe. You feel trapped. The same thing in your house. You're in a household where you're being triggered all the time. And that concept has made a huge impact on our patients' quality of life.
Wow, that's really an important one. And I can see how that rule gets broken all the time. That all of them, actually, the not talking about your pain is broken all the time. And not keeping your house safe. Those are really good keys. And I think everyone, like you said, because if everybody has anxiety and everybody's in a relationship and they have fights, then that's going to be something we all have to work at to create this safe environment of our home. But now I'm wondering if it's any different, because I think I've told you this in the past, but I have a good friend whose son has pain, and he's only in his 20s. He's like 25 or something, but he's had chronic daily pain for 5 years. He's seen 20 doctors. You've heard the story, they all have different ideas. He has pains in his feet and hands. Some people think it's rheumatoid arthritis. Others say no. Some want to do surgery on his feet. And they want to put him on drugs, and they all have these horrible side effects. And so it's the usual story of someone with chronic pain. They've seen lots of doctors. They have everyday pain. No one can give them answers. And yes, he's angry for sure, but he doesn't live at home right now with the parents. But I can see even when he's not at home, I can see how much this life of his pain and him has put a burden onto his parents, and his mom is my best friend, so I see it deeply. And so I'm wondering, how does it change when the victim is the child and not a partner?
The first thing I do, because I deal with lots of kids in their 20s with chronic pain, the first thing I do is always fire the parents every time. And why would I do that?
Well, you're saying that, does the kid have to do that or you? Because in this case, he's kind of relying on her to help him. He's kind of saying when it's not working, when things aren't working, it's almost like it's his mom's fault, you know?
Right.
And so does the doctor, is it you that says to the parents you're fired? Does the kid have to come with that, or do the parents have to say, I'm not helping you anymore?
I tell the parents that you have to let go. In other words, he's 25. I remind them that Alexander the Great was 14 years old when he started to conquer the world. He's an adult. He gets to own his own pain. He has lost the right to blame his parents. He gets to run his own life. And the problem is it becomes addicting. In other words, he is in pain. The parents are attached to his outcome. And what happens, it becomes addicting for him to control his parents like that. It's a very powerful role, and he will not willingly want to give it up. And it takes help. I mean, this is where it takes some counseling with the parents. Say, look, you got to let go, because he manipulates his parents unconsciously. Then consciously or unconsciously, he feels badly about that. And you get this whole guilt control cycle going, which is really, really deadly for everybody.
Yeah.
The first thing, by far and away, until the parents actually let go completely, he will not heal. This won't happen. It's just too much intertwining of the neurological circuits.
And then, you know, as a parent, like, to let go makes you feel like you're not trying hard enough to help your child, even if they are in their 20s. But I'm sure that's a really hard thing.
Well, but I point out to the parents, why are you helping this adult? In other words, are you doing it for the child, or are you doing it for yourself? And generally, they're doing it for themselves. Guilt, whatever it is that's driving it. And I understand you're connected to your child. You want them to do well. But there's also a second part of this process in stage 2, is that anytime you're attached to the outcome, whether you're performing or raising kids or doing a job, you do the best job you can do and you let go. And you've heard the saying that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The suffering comes from being attached to the outcome. So with my chronic pain patients, it took me years to figure this out, that if you're my patient, and I was really, really intent on getting you better no matter what, but you weren't necessarily as intent as I was. In other words, I was more intent on the outcome than you were. You have me. You have control. And guess what? You'll use it to shut me down. So what I've learned the hard way, it took me 5 years to figure this out, is say, look, I'm more than happy to help you out. I'll talk to you for hours about pain if you're engaged, but I can't convince you to get better. I cannot convince you to get better. You just can't do that. And until he wants to truly get better, the parents have to let go. There is no chance of him getting better as long as the parents stay that involved in his care. It's not possible.
And in the meanwhile, it's ruining their life. So it's not like it's good the way it is now. Do you know what I mean? It's a really difficult place when he's like that. So that's good advice. But I'm also thinking, you know, you've spoken a lot about this, about when a person has chronic pain, and I know you work with this active mindfulness that we've talked before. I know it's a process, everything's a process, but to go from where your mind is constantly on your pain to learning where to put your mind somewhere else has to be pretty intense, because it's so different from what they're used to. And do you find this takes so many months with your patients, or do they say this is hard for them, or is it just slowly they get better at it?
Well, I mean, the whole process is hard to stay in pain and remain in pain, but it's a familiar pattern. The biggest obstacle we have by far for people getting better is wanting to give up their pain. In other words, pain's a very powerful role. You're trapped, you're angry, it feels powerful. In a lot of ways, it successfully covers up the feelings of anxiety, which we all hate. Mm-hmm. By far and away, the biggest obstacle we have to people getting better is simply not wanting to give up their pain. So it is true. I mean, I'm the same thing. I'm out of my pain pathways. I've been that way for about 10 years or even longer. And when it comes to being a victim, which being in pain is. It's a powerful role. And I'm telling patients over and over again, there's never going to be a morning where you wake up and say, I don't want to be a victim. I had to finally acknowledge that I go in the victim role 5 to 7 times a day, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot. But remember the genealogy of being a victim. There's a circumstance that you blame, you're a victim, and then you're angry. Mm-hmm. The feeling of anger is a very powerful feeling. This is the one part of the process you simply have to just say, done. And on stage 1, basically the 2 ideas of breaking up chronic pain is 2 things. One of them is decreasing the body's stress chemicals. Remember, as the chemical environment goes from adrenaline and cortisol to oxytocin and dopamine, it completely changes the body chemistry. So you have a sense of well-being from a chemical basis that you don't have when you're full of stress chemicals. Mm-hmm. So that in itself is a big difference. So just mindfulness meditation, relaxation techniques have a huge effect on simply calming down the body's chemistry. That's why mindfulness and meditation are some of the effective tools in actually helping solve chronic pain. The second thing is neuroplasticity, where these pain pathways and circuits are memorized. What you're doing is creating alternate pathways around the old pathways, which requires 3 steps. One is awareness. You have to become aware of what the automatic survival response is. Then you separate, then you redirect. The actual beginning process is simple. It's what's called expressive writing. Simply write down your thoughts, angry, positive, negative, rational, irrational, it doesn't matter. You simply write down your thoughts and you tear them up instantly. The reason why I tear them up is for 2 reasons. One is to write with freedom. Again, they can be positive or negative thoughts. But the second thing, which is more important, is to not analyze them. In other words, when you write, all these issues come up, but they're not really issues, they're just thoughts. If you want to analyze them, you must put your hand right into a hornet's nest. Because of these, you have these survival patterns, they're reactive, they're powerful. If you want to spend time thinking about them, you might as well be talking about it. The more you think about it and talk about it, you actually reinforce it. Mm-hmm. The expressive writing is the only one mandatory step of the whole process, where you simply have to write down your thoughts, tear them up. But it actually works. Within 2 weeks after people start the writing, things start to shift. And then again, I've been doing this for 15 or 20 years, and I'm better at it now than I was last year and the year before. Even in the last 6 months, I've had more, I use the word breakthroughs, than I've had in the last 5 years. So it's an ongoing learning process that builds on itself. So the answer is it's not hard. It's self-directed. It's not like some cataclysmic event takes place that just changes your brain. Mm-hmm. It's just this repetition. You have good days, good weeks, bad weeks. You just learn to use the tools more skillfully and quickly, mm-hmm. and life changes dramatically. It's actually not that hard.
And Dr. Hanscom, when you said earlier that patients' pain is a powerful thing, they don't want to let go of it, but that's not consciously, right? Because a lot of people I know that are in this situation, they always say, I'd love more than anything to get rid of my pain. This is horrible. So it's more on an unconscious level that it's a powerful thing and hard to give up, wouldn't you say?
No, I agree with that completely. And that's what happened to me. First of all, I didn't even know I was angry. I thought it was pretty cool, actually, which was a problem. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't connected to my anger. I didn't see it. I didn't see the effects on myself. I didn't see the effects on my family and relationships. It did cost me a marriage, which I'm not very happy about. And so when you're angry, it is self-centered, it is narcissistic, and understandably so, but you lose awareness of the effect on people around you. And it turned out to be probably the essence of abuse, is that the essence of any relationship is awareness. When you're angry, you completely lose awareness because it's only about you. It's devastating in relationships.
For sure. I mean, you can really see it. And if you're in a situation, you're either the partner or the person with the pain, you really can see everything you're saying is so true. And I just wonder, how has it been for you as a surgeon to transition? So your patients come into the room and you walk in the door and they're sitting there hoping that you're going to be the doctor that can correct their surgery that they had and they still have horrible pain. And now you're going to tell them to go right and tear it up and do something else. I mean, how has that been? Has it been accepted? Do you look forward to it now? Has it been hard to do as a surgeon? And have you gotten a lot of grief over that?
People come to me for a big operation to solve their problem. I'm in a tough spot because as a surgeon, I'm the big gun, I'm their final hope, everything else has failed. And when I talk to them about going home and writing, they're pretty upset because it's like I'm not listening to them. I'm not validating their pain and their suffering, but I do get it in a big way. I also understand I'm in a very awkward spot being a big time surgeon and all of a sudden going home and saying to go right. But also point out there's not one research paper that says spine surgery works. There's over 1,000 research papers that says the running exercises actually work. So I say, look, this is homework. You don't have to understand or believe anything I've said. This is not about some big belief system. I simply want everybody involved. Don't talk about your pain. Remember when things were fun and make your house a safe house. Those are simply concrete rules. Then I'll see you back in a couple of weeks. Then we'll have some great conversations. A lot of people are angry. They don't come back. I feel badly about that. There's not much I can do. But I also learned if I try to convince somebody to get better that really isn't ready to get better, I really just make them much more angry, actually make things way worse. Mm-hmm. If they come back eventually later, which they often do, then I'm ready to go. All I ask them to do is simply engage in the process and let's go. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about it. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of patients going completely pain-free. I get emails all over the country on a regular basis telling people, look, this is happening. I'm pain-free for the first time ever. And people are really excited about it.
I think it's so cool that you're able to do this as a doctor because you just don't learn that in medical school, and it's a big step. I'm sure your colleagues have given you some grief about this, and it's not been an easy path for you, but I so appreciate all that you're doing to get people better. So tell people about your book, Dr. Hanscom, because I know you're also wanting people to read more from the website too, and you have an updated book. So tell them what that is so we can let the listeners go to your website and read more about what you're talking about today.
I wrote the second edition of my book, Back in Control, A Surgeon's Roadmap Out of Chronic Pain, about 1.5 years ago. It's much more based on neuroscience, much clearer. The website's backincontrol.com. I do ask people to go to the website first, start on stage 1, go through all 5 steps, and look at this as a journey, exploration. There's no real beginning or end point. But the good news is overall about 90% self-directed. And that's the key issue. You take control of your own care, and then you use the doctors and medical system as your resources, and you're no longer at the mercy of the medical system. So it's been an incredibly rewarding process for me, incredibly consistent. We just had a great time with it.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's something we all should be doing because just dealing with our anger, and even if it's a prevention for a future pain syndrome, but more importantly, so we can enjoy healthy relationships, and that allows us each to be free, and that's what it's all about, because to feel trapped to me is like the worst feeling in the whole world in any situation, right? So I think what you're doing is something we all need to work on. So Dr. Hanscom, thanks so much for your insight that you've shared with us. And I really appreciate all your work because I know how many people, I get your newsletter and I read their stories. They go pain-free, and it's so cool to see that. So I'm really grateful for you. And I just want to say thank you, because I always say health is freedom. And that is so true, isn't it?
Right. Absolutely. No, I love talking to you on your show. You've obviously taught a lot of people, have a deep understanding. The interview for me goes much easier when that happens. So I really enjoy being able to share the thoughts on your show.
Oh, thanks. And I look forward to having you back, and we'll do the follow-up to this soon. So thanks for joining me today, and have a great time.
Thank you.
I love Dr. Hanscom, don't you guys? He's so kind and so generous. Imagine a spine surgeon that wants people to avoid surgery. Now that's my kind of doctor. Sadly, for many out there, they've already had an unsuccessful surgery. But if you are one of those and you've had a surgery and still have pain, then you have to be sure to go to his website and read everything you can. Remember, it's backincontrol.com, and you can buy his book from Amazon, of course, by using the Vidal Speaks Amazon banner. And remember, his book is also called Back in Control. And if you guys know of anyone in pain, you can gift them his book, and you can share this podcast where they can listen to 3 of his interviews with me already. And as I said, we're going to be doing 2 more to finish up this topic, because it's really an important one, since so many relationships are stressed or ruined due to pain. But you know what? Even with no pain, there's so many healthy suggestions we all should be doing. I love the rule where the home is your safe haven. No complaining, and always honor your home as a sacred space, only for positive moments. I love that one. That's so cool. No complaining. That's really a good one, isn't it? I think complaining is so easy, especially these days. Just turn on the TV and watch the news and you'll find yourself complaining. And I also love the one about not talking about your pain. That's a hard one, but I can tell you it's life-changing, and I know this. So try those two things even if you don't have any pain, okay, you guys? And again, don't forget to go subscribe to my YouTube channel and get ready to learn. My podcast will be great for interviews, and my YouTube channel will also post my podcast, but of course, I'm going to use that venue for teaching more via videos, so it's going to be very different. I hope you guys love it, but most important, I hope I can help you all learn how to get on the road to Wellville. Well, I think that's enough for today. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the show today. I know that you know what time it is now, though, right? Yep, it's time to say goodbye. So till the next one, make your home a safe haven. No complaining. Vidal has spoken. Remember, you heal with a plant-powered diet, homeopathy, and detoxing, of course. Peace. Be healthy. Be free. Live life.